I'd wanted to join the infantry because I'm not that clever.
So I want to talk to you about your fitness in the army and after leaving the army as well. So you've been, how long were you in the army?
15 years.
15. Was it the same job the whole time?
No, it was all within the artillery, but I changed roles in different regiments and stuff, so a few different things.
Before you got accepted into the army,
Yep.
You would have had to do a fitness test to get accepted in, yeah?
Yep.
So run me through the fitness test that you'd have to do to get in.
It's changed now, but back then it was mile and a half run. That was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And depending on what job role you wanted to do, you would have a different time to complete that in.
Okay. So it's at the start where they decide what the fitness test is for where you're going?
Yeah, straight away.
Okay.
You also have to do, back then you had to do a certain amount of press-ups and sit-ups within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And each job would be slightly different, I think. There was a machine where sort of like scaled, where the thing didn't move, but they would test your back strength for carrying weight.
Yes, it's like a deadlift type machine. So it's got the cables in it and they can set the weight.
Well, it was round your back.
Okay.
So just like a strap round your back, and then you'd force yourself away from this pillar
that's
in front of you, and then they'd measure your back strength, and I failed that.
Really?
But I passed my run time, and that got me into the regiment I wanted.
Okay, so you didn't actually have to complete like all of it to a certain step. Is there like a window, like a minimum max, like a minimum and a pass rate kind of thing?
Yeah, so because I was so quick on my run that it kind of overruled the back strength thing.
Yeah.
Because I got my press-ups, my sit-ups, and I think the rest of it was pretty good that we did. So it was the run, because it was well above or better than what was needed, it kind of covered
offset that other one. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So like, so I've had a few clients that have come to me to get ready for their fitness test for whatever chosen force they're going into. So like Marines or Navy had RAF one, Army. And to me, it might sound a bit cheeky after you saying that you failed the back one, but to me it didn't seem that difficult.
Well, when I went to the recruiting office, they gave me a poster for fitness, and it had, was it dolphin raises or dorsal raises? Where you lie on the floor on your stomach and then you just raise your back.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I thought I was going to be fine with it, and then turns out it wasn't. But I was going for parachute regiment, so that's one of the toughest ones to go for, and I'm not very big, so I'm guessing that's why I failed. It was just just not that big.
Pretty strict test. Do you feel like, although you passed the other ones, did you find it quite taxing to get ready for that? Or is it a case you kind of just able to walk in at your kind of current fitness level and smash it apart for the back one?
Yeah, so I'd done quite a lot of build up, and I got deferred for a year, so I had a year of carrying on the training, just following the poster and doing little bits.
Yeah.
Before the internet was everywhere, so just whatever advice I could get. So I got a lot of preparation for it.
Yeah.
And went and done it again.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah. So, and presumably, so there's loads of different fields you can go into, and you kind of answered that already, where if you, depending on what segment you're trying to get into, determines what the fitness test is or level of fitness that you're expected to be at. And then, so after you do that and get in, does the training continue? Do you need to do further fitness tests after they've trained you for a while before you get any further? Or is it a case of once you're in, you're in?
Yeah, once you're in, pretty much. They will continue to build on your fitness. So when you go to basic training, that's when they take you from being a civilian to being a soldier.
Okay.
So basic training is your infantry stuff.
Yeah.
And they get you in the gym 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
And then you do all your like stuff out in the field, section attacks, which is running with your bag and your weapon.
Yeah.
And it kind of all comes together at that point. But they will keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you.
Yeah.
And then you'll have like a fitness test that you've got to pass at the end.
Yeah.
which isn't going to be much different to what it was to get in.
Really.
It's pretty similar, but then it's the
But the standards have raised. Yeah. Okay.
So it's, if you get in, as long as you don't get worse, and you can manage the military skills,
yeah,
you're pretty much guaranteed to get through it.
Okay, cool.
And then you just keep working on it. But yeah,
do you get? Is it like staged? So say you're like, so that did you say that was like a year, and that you would do that reset?
No, so that's for basic training. 14 weeks for an adult entry. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember now. It's been a year, but yeah, 14 weeks roughly for basic training for everybody that goes in as an adult.
Okay. It's not that long. It depends how.
It's really busy. And if you fail 1 week, so normally each week we'll have a main subject to pass, and if you fail it, then you go into a different squad or back trooped, and you'll basically start again that week, or you might have to go back 2 weeks or whatever.
Wow.
So you don't want to fail that because it just builds up your time in basic training, which is rubbish.
So how long can you go before they're like, no?
Normally it's a 3 strikes kind of thing.
Really?
But I think it depends on what you, like if you fail on a different thing, at different stages, they might give you another chance. And how much you fail by, it just depends.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty busy, and you're in loads of lessons, and if you're not used to it, I was falling asleep in the lesson stuff, you get into trouble for it really bad. But they also want you to do your best books at night, so you go over all your notes that you've done and you write it up in perfect writing in a big binder that you're meant to keep throughout your career.
Wow.
That's an old-fashioned thing.
So just pretty constant for those weeks. Is that part of the training, or is they just throw everything at you and see how you handle it? Yeah.
Learn it quickly, make your own notes, and then interpret it, and then understand it, and practice it at night. And then the next day they'll ask you the questions, and you've got it. So that's the idea. And then at night time you're helping each other, building the teamwork by going over your lessons,
filling the gaps and things. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty intense. 14 weeks then. Mm-hmm. How long did it take? Did you get the 14 weeks?
I done it at 14 yet. I almost, I think I was almost back squadded, back trooped for a couple of things. It wasn't to do with my ability to do the soldiering stuff. It was just when you make little mistakes, and they add up, and eventually you just get booted out or sent back a few weeks just because they want rid of you because you're a nuisance.
Yeah.
And I think I was on my last warning. Once I left my locker unlocked, and we went on parade, and then they went in and trashed. Well, didn't trash it. They just took everything out of my locker, literally everything. So that was one strike. Another one was I had dirty trainers. You get 2 sets. I think we got 2 sets of trainers, or maybe it was just one. But I turned up with dirty trainers on parade because I didn't have time to clean them the day before or something, or I forgot. So that was another strike, having dirty trainers. You need to be in pristine kit all the time. And then another time I fell asleep when we were in the indoor laser shooting range.
Of course, not even a lesson.
I'd done my shooting, and then we were just sat on a row.
Oh, okay.
And the idea is you're going to be paying attention to everybody making other mistakes and what's going to do good. And so you learn by just watching.
And you just shot everybody, so thought we kept.
I fell asleep and got in trouble for that. So luckily I never got back tripped, but that was in theory my 3rd strike. But
cool.
I got away with it. I came away with best shot as well, so
I do,
maybe that
made up for it a wee bit. Yeah, semi-useful. That's good.
I wanted to join the infantry because I'm not that clever. Fitness is important for your
why
mindset,
was it?
for being in the army.
Yeah. Like, is it just to meet a physical standard so they know that you can move, or was it about building like more mental resilience, or both?
A bit of both, because when I joined it was different to what it is now, and if you do something wrong you run around the block, or you're on the drill square for another hour and a half, and that's hard work, just marching about. They would, if you mess up during PT, like if you're on the assault course, which is great fun, but there's loads of rules around it to be safe and stuff, and you got to do it in a certain time, and if you don't, you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you crawl through the puddles, and you do it again, and you were never going to meet that time. It was just to
see how far you could go.
Make sure you don't snap, you work as a team, nobody gets too aggressive with each other. It's the PTIs that are messing you about, so be angry at them, but at the same time, if you do, you'll get kicked out. So just controlling yourself, a bit of self-discipline, and just keep going, and your job is So like if you imagine special forces, they have the worst of it, and they're in a small group,
Yeah.
and they've just got to rely on each other. So they need people who can just get on with it. They get told,
Yeah.
you're doing it again. Okay, let's go. And they've got that mindset. And then if you're really fit, it's not going to be that difficult.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it anyway. So the fitness was to get you stronger and ready for doing stuff, but at the same time, it's a mental muck about as well.
If you're too fit though, would they
That can be a
extort that?
problem.
Would they make you do
Yeah.
more?
So
So you need to kind of pretend a little
yeah,
bit. Oh no, this is really hard.
ease off on some things. For when I was on P Company, the officers, because officers are meant to be of a better standard than the soldiers, sort of thing. They would, whilst we were coming down off of one of the hills, they had to do laps
Right.
around the squad of soldiers. So the officers had extra, and then they would just go back to the front, and then they'd go to the back, and then at different times they'd just tell them to do a lap of the squad.
Really?
It's because they're officers. So
Wow.
yeah,
And just
sometimes
because they
it's
should
good.
have more mental resilience and be fitter.
yeah, and be able to lead by example by not
Okay,
giving up.
yeah.
And
Yeah, it makes
But-
you feel like you shouldn't be greeting for doing what you're
Yeah.
doing.
and some of them are still like 20 years old, so they're not
Really?
old, they're not experienced. They just
They're
got
just fit.
an officer job, and yeah, they're having to do more. So,
Wow.
but that's what's expected of them as officers. So.
So what would a weekly routine look like for you, and like a fitness routine? What would that look like through the week?
For training or
Yeah.
training. So the standard throughout the army is 3 sessions a week, which would normally be, I think, a Tuesday, a Thursday, and then Friday. Fridays would be COs once a month, but every regiment's different. But during basic training, I think they kind of stick to that as well.
Yeah.
And because it's one camp with loads of recruits and you've only got one gym,
Yeah.
they might change it so some would be Monday, Wednesday,
Just for
or
numbers.
whatever, to try and move things about. You didn't get your sports afternoon in training, but you got that when you got to regiment, which is a nice break. So they just at least 3 sessions a week.
Wow. And what do these sessions look like? Is that just strength stuff? Is it just cardio, or kind of mix of both?
It's a
Like, have you
mix
got
of
written down stuff, or?
I didn't see any sort of plan for it. I just knew this is the army sort of fitness that you do, and they're
Okay.
just going to thrash us and it'll work.
Yeah.
So you just do what they say.
So is it PT led to those sessions as well?
Yeah,
or
so
were you just
PT
left to
means
it?
physical training and not a personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
So we call them PTIs, physical training instructor.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they've got the same sort of qualifications as you would have,
Yeah.
but they don't really do one-on-ones as
Well, I
much.
was talking to somebody. He's an army cadet, like an older army cadet. I think he coaches army cadets. I'm actually not sure, and he'll be watching as well. So I'll find out
Cadet
absolutely.
instructor.
Something like that. Yeah. So, and I was asking him about the PTs in the army, because I know, like, one of my friends wanted to go into the Navy and be a PT in the Navy, so that was kind of his plan from the start, and it never happened that way. He didn't quite get what he wanted, to kind of led it towards someone else. But he was saying, like, a lot of the PTs in the army, they didn't come in as PTs unless that was a particular route they wanted to go. They're generally trained up once they're already in. So then they don't really see the outside world PT-wise, and they get trained up as PTs in the army. So then it would be just very army-based PTing.
Yeah.
So like, it would be very different from my style of PTing.
Yeah, and in the army, if you do anything wrong, if you have the slightest break, like, nope, crash mat, and you do knees to chest on like this thick of a foam mat, it just
Right.
takes all your energy, and you do that until the next person messes up,
Really.
and then you swap. So it's pretty brutal.
So hoping for somebody else to mess up,
Yeah.
so you get out.
Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's 2 seconds. You don't even get there sometimes. So, but yeah, they would do a mixture of stuff. Sometimes you would just go for a run.
Yeah.
In trainers, especially at the start, it would be trainers in t-shirt and
Right.
shorts, nice and easy. And then you put on your webbing belt, but it's just got on your water bottle at the back,
Yeah.
so you can always have a drink. In fact, that's probably from the start. And then you start running in boots and trousers, and
Okay, yeah.
they slowly add up the stuff that you're wearing, and then weight as well, putting on a bag
Right.
with a couple of kilos. Then depending on what regiment you go, you might be up to 20 kilos or whatever it is
Cool.
by the end. So it's they build you up. They've got the run inside, and then or the cardio, and then they've also got a lot of circuits,
Yeah.
which could be strength based, normally body weight strength as well,
Yeah.
just yourself. And then they do gym agility, which is jumping over stuff and
Okay. Yeah.
two-footed landing. And even back then they were quite strict on how you landed, and if you didn't do it right, you'd be on the crash mat.
Really?
So it doesn't teach you to do it right, really. But
It's just you get punished until you somehow do it right.
yeah, that was it. So there's a bit of a mix, which is why it was so different when I come to doing it with you,
Yeah.
where you have loads of breaks. Because for me, 30 seconds is all you get, and you have to run, grab a drink of water, get back into position and start on the whistle. So
Yeah, and I get the difference between that, because like what I know and what they know, and their purpose for PTing is you're not gonna get a break if you're really in the shit of
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Whereas gym training is very different, and even for athlete training, especially depending on what you're training. If you're training strength, then no breaks in between is not really ideal for some of the exercises that we're doing. So you're probably the only one that actually didn't take bad to the shorter rest periods that I programmed in for the level up stuff.
I kind of prefer it
Yeah,
because you can just
it just
keep
gets
going.
you on and gets you through it as
Mhm.
well, and that was kind of was to limit the time that people were taking as well, because any one of the programs could have been, or any one of those sessions could really be drawn out to like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's just too long, and nobody would do it or stick to it. So limiting the rest period kept everybody on track, basically.
Mhm.
When you went through all that training and doing all the kind of rigorous stuff, once you get into your position, or where it is you finish training, you're in whatever job role that you're in, then what does the fitness look like then? Does it still push you, or are you kind of just left to it?
It's a bit different. So once you complete your basic training, which is phase 1, you go to phase 2, and that's where you learn your trade. So
Okay.
I went to the artillery, learned how to do the artillery stuff, got my driving license
Yeah.
and things. And through phase 2, they still have PT on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Friday, and you get COs at that point. That's when you learn about COs PT.
Right.
And normally everybody has to be on it, and it's something even tougher than normal.
Okay. Yeah.
And the CO, the commanding officer's there, so he can see everybody when they're running about and stuff, and he
Yeah.
comes and chats to you randomly.
Okay.
So you get a taste for that. So it changes slightly there, but they're still pushing at that point because you're still in training.
Yeah.
And because I was going to a specialist regiment for the paras, we had to do extra phys on a Tuesday and Thursday night as well, which would often be a
Okay.
log run or a stretcher run, one of the tougher tests you get on P Company.
Right.
And they would just keep smashing you through it just to get you fitter and fitter and fitter.
Yeah.
And you're that knackered that you don't realise how fit you are until you get an easy session and it's a breeze. And then when you get to your regiment, it's different. You'll have your normal Tuesday, Thursday, and then COs on the Friday. But I don't know, I think it's easier. It seems when you first get there, you're a bit anxious about everything because you don't know anybody at all.
Yeah.
And now you're in the real army, and everyone can be as horrible as they want, and you've got to fit in with them rather than I'm new, so look after me.
Okay.
So you've got to find your place. So you want to do well in phys. So I pushed myself not further, but I still had that drive to do the best I could.
Yeah.
And it paid off in the end, and I'd done quite well. And I was fitter than some of the guys that had been in the army for a few years, and some of the guys that passed B Company because they'd let their standards drop.
Right.
So I think that got me a bit of leeway, and I didn't get picked on as much as some new people would have. And I befriended the PTI as well, not on purpose, but just happened to need some money at the time, and I offered him. I said I could have him out, so he sorted me out as well and kept me safe. But because we were at a specialist unit and I hadn't passed P Company yet, we still had extra phys on the Tuesday and Thursdays where you would get smashed.
Yeah.
And that was just a big muck about it. Just sometimes they get the new PTIs as well that weren't quite qualified, or they're on their course or something, or getting ready.
Okay. Yeah.
And they'd let them have a go. And because they're a bit immature and they don't quite understand it, they just any excuse at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no excuse, they just make you run. And they get told to calm down a bit. So yeah, you got smashed a bit. On the normal PT though, with the rest of the regiment or battery, it was slightly more chilled out because it's more of like a maintenance thing. That, like you were saying, you've got your maintenance calories, your bulky calories, and your weight loss thing. So it was kind of like the in-between session, because the people who had passed, they didn't want to be getting thrashed. They've already deserved their
kind of just a tick
easy
over
time.
thing, yeah.
But you might get split into 2 groups or something, or if you've not passed B company, you have to go up the hill.
Right.
Everyone has to get a water break, something like that, just to try and push it a little bit further, so that it gives you an incentive to pass and get through the course you need to do. So it was slightly different, but they were still pushing at that point.
Yeah.
When I left that regiment, went to the next one, that was a normal regiment, so there wasn't extra PT.
Okay.
And as long as you passed your fitness tests, they didn't really care. You do your normal phys 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And they didn't push you that hard because you weren't a specialist regiment, so you weren't expected to be above and beyond. PTIs were still really fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there would be fat people who couldn't run, and so they have to be like, oh, come on.
Really?
Come on, catch up, come on. Right, everybody slow down. We're going to go back, collect this person, and then we're going to bring them to the end, so everyone gets a wee break.
No
thanks
way.
to the fatty. So sometimes it was good, but it's just different. And then you would do your own phys sometimes, because you felt like you weren't getting enough.
Yeah, good. So the training worked then for the most part, certainly for you. It gave you that kind of that mindset of that is going to make life easier, as being fit. Yeah. That's crazy. And then you've got people that just let it go. So is that not kind of backwards, where they train you up so hard and then they allow that to happen, where people can kind of regress?
Yeah, it's stupid. But some people go on courses, like if you want to be a driver, there's plenty of driving courses you can do, and if you're in the stores and logistics, you get all the truck licenses and you can be away for weeks doing your driving courses. And I don't think at the driving school they're that interested in fitness, because you're driving a truck. So why do you have to be able to run? You're going to move your ammunition, you're going to look after that, that's your job, so you'll be in the truck. Yeah. So I don't think they push it that hard there, and if they're there for 6 months to come back, they've probably had a lot of pizza as well. And so they're at a lower standard, and then their day job is to drive. Yeah. And then they might not be on PT, because when you're at your regiment, sometimes your jobs, your duties will take precedence over PT, and you miss out again. Yeah. So then you lose that as well, and it just gets worse and worse, and you get lazy, and you get used to it. And so some people fall into that trap. Some people get injured, and then they're off for a long time for rehab, and then either they can't get back up to where they were, or I think a lot of people would, or some people would play on it so they didn't have to do as much. Okay, yeah. And they'd say, oh yeah, it's still sore, I need another 6 months. But I always preferred to just keep on limping, and eventually it goes away. Yeah. Well, there's something in that, yeah. And I guess a mindset thing as well, just always pushing. If you're not completely debilitated, then you should be doing something. Yeah. So how, coming to the end of the army, moving out, like how did you feel your fitness was affected when you transitioned out of the army? Well, because of COVID, I noticed when I went back from Medals Parade, I think it was the Jubilee Medal, and we all got it, and I went down to do the piping on the parade, so I led the pipe band there, and everybody looked fat. It was quite funny. I thought I must be the same. And then a few years more up in Inverness, and at that point we'd got back into the gym, because we didn't have a local regiment that we could go use the army gym, so we got a Bannatynes membership, £50 a month paid for. Which obviously they couldn't control when you're in and out. So we would use it as much as we could, and if there's no work on, instead of sat in the office, you go to the gym. At least it's useful time. So I got my fitness back up pretty good, and I was concentrating on my strength, but just walking in the gym myself, not having a clue what this stuff does, and I just started doing things. It's kind of no structure after leaving. So I did get a bit bigger. I don't know if I got any stronger, but I noticed I was getting bigger, but also my tummy was getting bigger as well. So I don't know if it was the eating was getting more as well. Yeah. So it was a bit of a weird end for me. Because then I went back to my regiment for the last couple of months, or last couple of weeks, and they said, we weren't expecting you to come back to England, so you can just get on with your resettlement. You don't have to do anything. Wow. So it was a really easy finish for me, and I didn't have much of a, like, all the way up to the end, army fitness. And I
Yeah,
was kinda
everyone was
relaxed.
really
It was-
interested in that, but
I'd already had the sort of 3 years in Inverness where I could go to the gym myself, do my own thing,
yeah,
and thought I was doing okay.
yeah,
But I tried to do a lot of running, and I wouldn't do as much rest in between things, so
yeah,
it was more the stamina side.
okay,
And then I got out and I did nothing for like 6 months.
yeah. Really?
Yeah. And I noticed I was getting smaller, my arms were getting smaller, so
Yeah, it's all kind of fading
everything
away.
went back away. Yeah.
It was a bit of a weird ending. So 6 months of doing nothing, and then is that when you come? Is that when you come up here and got back into the gym, up here?
Yeah, so it was about August or September when I left Inverness, and that was me out of work pretty much.
Okay.
Just paid leave up until January, so I didn't do anything while I was down in England. And then what was it, the second week or third week up here that I started going to the gym?
Yeah,
So,
and then
March.
you obviously wanted to get back into the gym.
6
After that kind of 6 months, and had your goals changed going back into the gym? So obviously with the army, you need to hit certain standards and you need to do a lot of running, carrying stuff. But now you've got free reign in the gym pretty much to do whatever you wanted. So how did your goals change from kind of just having to meet those standards to then doing what you want to do?
Not really, because I was told that if you can pass a 1.5 mile run, like all soldiers have to do in order to stay in, then you're considered an athlete because you're the top 3% of the UK population for fitness.
Yeah, it's probably about right, yeah.
Which is surprising because the ROC, they got, or bandsmen, I think, they got some of the longest times, which was like a fast walk compared to like the paras and that. So I always thought, well, I know I can pass the paras run time, so I'm going to try and keep to that.
Yeah.
That keeps me running up to speed, which is why I joined parkrun as well.
Yeah.
And when I struggled with it, I was really disappointed.
Really?
So I'll need to keep an eye on that. But my main goal for a long time has been building my upper body strength. So I just put the same idea of no breaks, just go for it and don't overdo it, because I did that in Inverness and I struggled with the DOMs afterwards. But I learned not to overdo it and not to just do everything all at once.
Yeah.
Just stick to that portion of muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep that kind of standard, and as long as I was getting stronger or I could see my muscles more, then it was going in the right direction. But I was always trying
was the drive behind that then more being stronger and from an aesthetic point of view, looking like you're stronger?
Yeah, because nobody would take me seriously, and even though I was a bombardier or like a full screw, people would just ignore what I'm saying. It was either because I'm not very big, or I haven't got a shouty voice, or it's because I was in a pipe band and I was really good at piping, so they think, oh, he's a band geek, so he's useless.
Okay.
And yet, I went on tour and I'd done my job, and I'd done the same as any other soldier would.
Yeah.
But I had this extra ability to play pipes outside of my normal job.
Yeah.
And then, so I see it as a good thing, but people just didn't care.
Okay. Yeah.
And
And you think that was just an image thing?
Yeah. So if I got bigger straight away, like when people look at you and look at me, they'd probably pick me to fight. So that would help if I got bigger. And if I build my upper body as well and bigger shoulders, people look at that rather than your legs, because you don't want to be, like, if I'm running away, I'm not fighting. So there's no contest. And it's funny because when what year was it? 3rd or 4th year in the army, I joined the boxing team, because the army offers you all these sports, you don't have to do anything properly. They just say, you want to do this year?
Yeah.
So I'll have a go at boxing. And I won my fight, and people thought, during sparring, I was sparring with the head coach, and he said, your punches tickle, you're not moving me at all, punch harder. And I was like, well, that's how I punch. But my fitness was better than, I think, a lot of people in the regiment. I was almost always first on the runs.
Yeah.
I'd never give up on the strength stuff, even though I wasn't that strong, but I'd keep pushing.
Yeah.
So my stamina was good, and that's what counted in the ring, because although I wasn't getting many punches, I wasn't completely knackered at the end, and the other guy was getting dizzy. He was
Can't
out of breath.
outbox them.
Just 1 or 2 punches, and he was staggering about, and then the ref stopped the fight. So if it did come to a fight, I could fight.
Yeah.
But people think that I couldn't. because of my size.
Yeah,
But
an advantage.
it's like a hidden thing that they would find out when they.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like in the real world, that would be something you would have to do is get involved first.
And then that's
whereas
the problem.
I tend to not get picked on.
Yeah.
So they can avoid the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. But people they wouldn't think that.
We talked about like the mindset that was kind of created through that training with the army. What have you taken any part of that forward into civvy life, like that kind of mindset into your training now?
Yes. And because the way the army trains you, is, have you heard it? They say it's not a job; it's a lifestyle. So it really is. It changes your whole way of living, how you see the world. And obviously, you still get bullies, you still get racists, and people that you don't really want to be doing.
Yeah.
Like protecting the country and doing stuff, but they can do their job, and that's why they're there.
Okay. Yeah.
And it just changes how you think about everything. So, like the discipline thing, there's so much discipline in the army that it's just there. So, even though I've had a few lazy days or a year, pretty much, 'cause it's been a bad year, so that's played on it. And then without me being in the army, I had the chance to relax that discipline.
Yeah.
But now that I'm a bit better, the discipline's straight back to there. And,
okay, good, yeah.
And I want to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just
that drive's still there.
Something good to do, not because it's going to make me better or stronger, just because that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
So
good.
It's still there, and it's like the values and standards get instilled in you and stuff, and you see all this stuff that you got to memorise, and then you end up living by it because you believe it, because you've been going on about it for years and years, and it does take over you. It's kind of like what do you call it, brainwashing you, kind of thing, but not in a bad way, because it's good stuff that you're learning.
Yeah.
So it's still there, and I try and take as much of it as I can into everything I do.
Good, yeah. So you came on board with me, maybe a few months ago. Wasn't it? It was before the level up stuff. So you come on board with me, kind of softly to start with, because you were training with Danny and kind of stealing her routine, but it was structured.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got more involved in it, and you're honestly one of the easiest clients to deal with, because you're just so consistent. It's week in, week out. You do the workouts, you follow the nutrition, you give feedback, and you keep pushing it. And it makes my life a lot easier. It makes my job a lot easier to deal with that, because I get so much feedback, and because you just do what you're told to do, basically. You just kind of get on with it. How do you feel that my style of training is compared to the army? So obviously you've got the discipline and everything, the drive to do it, but how do you feel like the style of how I've written programs and how that works? How do you feel that compares to the army?
Sometimes it seems like the army doesn't have a program. You've got PT in the program, and so they just go and take you for a run, and they don't know what they're doing themselves.
Okay,
so it's good to have a structure, and that that if I stick to it, then I'm gonna get what I'm wanting out of it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of trust that you've done the right thing and worked out my calories and got the right program and stuff. So
I'm assuming it'll be a lot more monitored. Like it's very personalised, obviously, because it's personal training. It is one-to-one. It's not a group thing. It's not a force of people where they just have to meet a standard. It's very much focused on you and what your goals are, what you want. That's good. And you see the benefit of it. You see the different. So you mentioned before about the rest periods, like just getting hashed for the sake of it, and probably more for the mindset kind of thing, like being able to do shit just consistently, even though it's crap. Obviously, I don't work like that unless that was a particular thing. Like if somebody was training for Tough Mudder or something, maybe it would train you like that. But strength, hypertrophy, even the cardio stuff, there's still like set rest periods in it, and there's a structure to it. It's not just go in and do it all as fast as you can, because that wouldn't get you the results that it would with the rest periods. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel that works better? Do you feel you get more results out of that with the rest periods, particularly in the strength stuff?
Yeah, so I think in the army, if you wanted to build strength like what I'm doing now, it would have to be outside of the army's time. It would be in the evenings. I'll go to the gym and I'd have my own program to work on.
Yeah.
And then that just going to knacker you. Not impossible, because we did it during phase 2. I'd try and go to the gym in the evening to work on strength, but it never worked because I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, I think just because the army is more of a stamina thing, and it's like an all-round fitness and strength and everything, but you've just got to keep going and never ever give up.
Yeah.
It's just different. So to be able to do this, I would have to do my own thing, and I'd have to know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Whereas this is easy because of the rest. You've definitely got your breath back by the next set.
Yeah.
Or most of them.
Part for the sandbag for us.
Yeah. But it's still hard because I'm still wanting to give 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm still pushing as much as I can.
Yeah. So it's pushing in a different way. Like I don't particularly like running at all. In fact, I hate it. But yeah, that would be my hard, and just purely for the fact of breathing and my cardio could do with being a lot better. It is a lot better than what it was, but that's shit for me. Whereas the strength stuff, I can push that till I'm passing out, and that's normal for me. But it's both super intense, just in a different way. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people wouldn't push themselves that hard strength wise. They'd be like, oh, that was a bit hard. I started shaking. I'm just going to stop now. Whereas I'm like, fuck, I'm still awake. So you know, let's push it harder. Yeah, it's just kind of different styles, I guess. And you've done a lot of more cardio based stuff and like anaerobic stuff you're saying with the circuits and things, whereas this is strength. Even though we've got some hypertrophy, which is a bit more burny, you know, resistance training. We have got conditioning in there. It's probably your easiest day out of the whole lot.
Well, it's more fun, yeah.
You think so? Yeah.
I enjoy that. I like stuff that gets you sweating buckets and you're just constantly drenched. You're always working. I like that.
Yeah.
That's what I've done for 15 years. So
yeah.
That's my normal thing. So. Because when
Did you like it at the start?
No.
It's built, so you can create it, make it happen.
So now with the med ball slams, I always try and get less time. Yeah. You're just knackered no matter what, and then I'm trying to up the reps now because I'm managing pretty much the same. Yeah. And I'm not finding it getting any more difficult, so I must not be improving.
Yeah, we've not tried the slam balls and results yet.
I know, we've only had the bouncy ones and they're really awkward, so we'll see. But it's,
good, yeah. Cool. I appreciate it, man.